Hello, my name is Dark, and this is a news update. I'll probably change the name of this or something in the future, but I just kind of wanted to find some cool things to share, and that's kind of it. There's not really much more to this than that. I just think that sometimes there are some cool things that deserve recognition, and I like talking about them. So here we go. The first thing I want to talk about is Bring Us Studios getting over 900,000 subscribers. I think this is pretty big, getting close to 1 million, of course. If you've never seen Bring Us Studios, his whole thing is kind of running Steam and Steam games on random hardware. It's really cool because it kind of shows the extreme lengths that you can go to get something to work, but also that hardware hacking is actually pretty accessible if at least you have a little bit of a basic understanding of stuff. I really like it because I think reclaiming old hardware to be reused is pretty awesome. It kind of shows how useful open source hardware or just like the openness of hardware is. Next thing I wanted to talk about was Iron Lung. I'm sure you are familiar with it at this point, but it's Markiplier's interpretation of the game Iron Lung made into a movie. The whole thing is that Markiplier funded it, I believe, either entirely or for the most part, and it's an independent film, basically. He got #1, at least on most of the days during the opening weekend, and as you can see here, he got $17.9 million. Domestically at least, so that doesn't include all the other releases around the world in the, like, I believe 6,000 plus theaters. I saw it myself. I thought it was fantastic. I definitely can understand that there are maybe some choices in there that make it kind of difficult to stay immersed, or there are storytelling elements that some people are not a fan of, or also I believe someone, I can't remember who, but someone described it that if you were expecting like a horror movie, you may be slightly disappointed. I kind of agree in that it's more of a thriller, and it's also a very psychological thing. I like the perspective of the main character and how Mark portrays that. So I thought it was pretty great. And yeah. The next thing is Cineshades. This was made by Roll the Red and Sacred. Basically, they allow you to view any video player in the world, or I believe like the main video player in any context, really. So you put on the glasses and you're able to view the screen. The screen has a bunch of different options that allows you to change its curve, the soft band, like the soft effect on the edges, its position, its size, world dimming, as you can see. And it is currently $10 on Jinxie. When I have some money, I'm going to buy this because, for example, in Popcorn Palace, you can replace your camera's view with the screen, so you can use your camera, but that's kind of annoying because I have to like configure the camera and whatever. In this case, I could just turn on the Cineshades and watch wherever, really, so I'm really excited for that. The next thing I want to talk about was autism. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm not diagnosed technically with autism, but imagine getting an autism diagnosis in this day and age. Being able to. I was sent actually this video by someone from Orion Kelly. He goes over autistic burnout versus depression. And I think it's really interesting because he describes all the ways in which autistic burnout manifests. And in the most simplest terms, I believe you could think of it as when you're masking for too long, or you have too much overstimulation for a long enough period of time, you can enter these slumps of burnout. And it turns out I've probably just been burnt out constantly this whole time. So that's pretty great. I would definitely recommend watching this video if that's a topic that you find interesting or that you're concerned about. Also, there is this other video from Chris and Debbie, I guess, but this video just has Chris in it for the most part as the host. 30 Signs You're Masking Autism. I literally identified with every single one. And it makes sense now that, wow, like it's not just a defect on my part. It's actually, there's an explanation for why 90% of my daily behaviors are the way they are. So both of these videos were very eye-opening, and I would definitely recommend watching both of them if this is something that you want to look into. This next one by SSSVVV, just some cool art I found that they made. I love the way this looks, the atmosphere, and my favorite part about it is it's low fidelity, right? So low resolution textures, low resolution output. And if you really look at it, like these models are not super complex. The reason I like this so much is not only because it just looks fantastic, but it really goes to show that there's a lot more to art and just general creative immersion, or I guess, I don't know how to describe it, than high quality stuff, right? In this case, there's all that mist. Probably, I would assume it has to be like images on planes or something that is just moving along, right? The way the waves are crashing, I don't know how that's done. That's honestly impressive. It really goes to show that you can kind of take whatever and make whatever you want out of it. And I believe in this case, if you had some basic Blender skills, you totally could create something like this, right? If you think about the seagulls, it's just a basic bone system probably to flap the arms. The horse is obviously the most complicated part, I would say, because you have to do the walking cycle and make it look believable. But yeah, like, I'm not saying that this is easy, because there's a lot of creative intent and knowledge that clearly went in here, and it's the framing and everything. There's so many layers here. But for me, this is inspiring because it's approachable. It's not as though you need so much experience and it's so high quality that it's unattainable. Really, this is just some basic models, some basic textures, and you could probably achieve something similar with just enough time and focus. So I think it's very cool, not only because it's just something nice to look at, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty great. The next one is by JSaws. I don't know if I'm saying that wrong. It's Boots and Pants, and this is pretty straightforward, but I thought it was really nice because, like, this is kind of the whole charm of the PlayStation era, right? You have these relatively low resolution models. In this case, like, this one's, I think, a little bit higher resolution of a model than what you might find on a PlayStation. But again, this is kind of one of those things where it shows that it's a pretty low res model, but because of the texture work done here, it's just incredible. The detail you're seeing here, and like, yeah, it's pixelated or whatever, but this is just another one of those things where if you have an eye for it and you can make this, you can make some pretty incredible things. For me, it's encouraging because, like, there are a lot of things I want to make, but I get in my head about the quality of it and whether or not it's good. But this reaffirms to me as well that there is a lot going on here. Like, this topology is pretty amazing. Like, 5-pull, 3-pull, like, it's just very, very clean topology. But even then, like, I just think it's cool. It's inspiring, and I hope it's inspiring to you as well. That's kind of why I like to share this. This is JSaw's account. Let's see, game developer working on the crunchy retro shooter Cultic and the competitive skeletal sabotage game Bone Rooms. Let's see these. I haven't looked at these yet, actually. Yeah, so this is kind of what I mean, right? Is you don't need to have bleeding edge graphics and everything. A lot of game developers, like in this decade, I guess, have been kind of going for this retro design. I know some people kind of are tired of it already, but I find it fascinating because it just emphasizes that there's a lot more to games than just the graphics and funny features. It's an overall amalgamation of game design and game mechanisms. And like, this looks great. I would probably absolutely play this. It's very cool. Let's do this other one. Okay. This is a funny, like, backrooms style game. I think this is cool. But I guess to also touch on this topic, like, the reason I'm so happy with games like this existing is because it kind of, I'm always like, this is a $10 game, right? And this other game, let's see, it's free to play, literally free to play, right? These types of games are always going to be way more enjoyable to me than all those $50, $60, $70, $80, $100 pre-order bonus crap games, right? Like, Battlefield's Battlefield, but I just lost interest in the latest Battlefield release because, like, it's been done so many times, and like, are they really innovating? And why would I spend $80 on a game when I can take that $80 and buy 8 of these games? I could buy, like, say that there's a friend slop game that's $10. I could buy 7 friends if I had 7 friends. The game, like, there's so it kind of emphasizes this idea of value in games, and it's not just like, there's so many different forms of value. So like, I value games that either provide me with an incredible storytelling experience, are just genuinely fun to play. So like, I recently started playing Buckshot Roulette, and like, it's great, like, because it's not novel kind of game mechanics, I think, and incredible atmosphere. Same with Clover Pit. I guess I may as well show these games. Clover Pit's great, gambling, but it's a roguelike kind of, in such that you can get up to, I believe, 7 or 8 charms that modify your odds or all these other factors. The phone gives you other upgrades, and these games, and this game, I believe, yeah, $10, another great example. These games have actual thought put into them such that they're enjoyable games to play, and like, the number one game that you can probably think of in this way is Balatro, right? Balatro is another one of these games where like it's a card game, right? It's poker, but it's not. Because of its roguelike nature, it just adds so much depth to the game, right? And yeah, they're just, they're still games, like you're wasting your time playing them, but I really think it's not, because especially these types of games, there's so much depth to them that you're actually, you feel like you're putting in effort and you're getting something back out of it, right? A lot of modern AAA titles these days are optimized to, you gotta buy crates and all this other stuff and skins and battle passes, and it's over, right? Like there's people that play those games, but like in my opinion, that kind of era is coming to an end, and I'm hoping we can see more of these types of indie games, right? Like I would rather take that $80 and support multiple indie game developers. So yeah, those are pretty cool. And then the final thing I wanted to share with you was Zikipedia, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right. What they did is they took the simple.wikipedia site. So this is a smaller version where it just kind of takes a synopsis of each page and it turns it into a doom scrolling app. And I think this is wonderful because instead of getting slop for the most part, right, stuff that like may be interesting, but whatever, you're getting real information here. You're just getting raw information. It's the Gen Z version of just reading Wikipedia, right? And I think this is great because like when I was on my lunch break at work yesterday, I went on Blue Sky for like 5 or 10 minutes, but then I just started going through the Wikipedia, right? And it's great. Like you can choose, like, for example, if I care about science, animals, places, sociology, art, mathematics, games, technology, music, right? I'm an adult. Here we go. Fox and the Hound, Theory of Colors, Giancarlo was a fencer from Italy. That's interesting. I'm not super into it, but Streamlabs, technological change. These are all things I like. A lot of these things maybe I'm not familiar with, but I get to learn now. And then if I click like this, it brings me to the Wikipedia page. I believe on mobile, it brings you to the simple version, but still, it's just very cool. You kind of get a random feed of Wikipedia articles and it affords you the opportunity to learn. Some of these are pretty simple, but I believe as you go along, it starts to algorithm saving and persistence. So yeah, if I remember correctly, the way it works is it saves your likes and everything, and it does like a basic algorithm locally. I guess there's a score here for type of these categories. And I believe as you go along, it will start to show you things that are a little bit closer to what you're liking. But yeah, hopefully this was interesting to you. Hopefully you learned some stuff. Hopefully you got to see some cool things. I would highly recommend the Wikipedia thing. And for example, I use Firefox on my phone and I was able to pin it to my home screen. So now I paired it with the Blue Sky app. So every time I go to Blue Sky, I have the option to instead go to Wikipedia. And yeah, thank you for watching. I would definitely recommend supporting these people that I showed today if you can. At least try to check them out or whatever. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you liked the video, please do like it. And if you disliked it, please dislike it. And feel free to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Hope you have a good day, and I will see you later.